in public service, that it is immaterial what your intentions may be, however kind you are, however good you think that your intentions are, it can't turn out that when the public are not, or when the public is not comfortable with you, they are simply not comfortable with you. And so this has to be a lesson to all of us in the manner in which we carry ourselves out. Because, and you see, anytime I come to Good Morning Ghana, by the time I finish, there are my party people at the car park waiting for me. Sometimes they even know my car. They are standing behind, by my car, asking for all sorts of monies. I could be a victim in any of the days when you are giving money to someone. You may not know who is videoing you, and they will say that Beatrice is sharing money. So maybe going forward, this should be a wake-up call to all of us. But the most honorable thing is that the young man, Sammy Jemfi, has not come to justify that this amount is money I can afford, or it is my money, or if you do the conversion, it is 13,000 cedis. No, we are not hearing the defenses. And you know the beautiful thing about this? No NDC communicator or senior member has even come out to say that, oh, Sammy Jemfi didn't do anything. Then it will be as if NDC said he didn't do anything, and NPP said he did something wrong. And no, the standards are very high. And you just read the story where the chief of staff has summoned Sammy Jemfi to come. I'm sure that he will be given an opportunity to be heard, and the right decision will be made. But it is an honorable thing to do when you hold a public office and the public sentiments are against a certain act. However good however good you intended, if the public say that we put you there, we are not satisfied with this. And on this note, let me also commend NDC members. You see, the NDC members have shown us that they are not autopilot members. I've seen a lot of people who even last Sammy Jemfi say that Sammy Jemfi should come and apologize, which he has come to apologize. What it shows you is that even internally, the NDC as a party has some members of conscience, some members who will not come and cook some stories to defend our own, but where President Mahama has to crack the whip, he will crack. Where apology has to be rendered, it will be rendered. Where we have to learn from what has happened and be guided by the lessons will be learned. And for me, that should be the standard in public service, and not where we'll be told that let's make it NDC, NPP, and then the story ends. No.
I like the way Beatrice wants to go on legality instead of morality, as they did a couple of months back when we had similar situations. We sat in here with her, and they castigated people for having funds that nobody had complained of missing funds. They couldn't trace the person to stealing anybody's money, but it was an issue just because they had those funds. She referred to the allegation I made against the MP. Annie, if I had come here with no just cause, with no background, with no context, and said, Beatrice is dealing in drugs, if I come and apologize, and I come and I tried justifying the fact of what I said, and not go straight to say, oh, I'm sorry, what I said was wrong, then I'll be justifying what I mean.
But that's
and
what
it would
you
have
did the last time. That's what you did.
Please. It would have also been worse if I was holding a public service position like I used to. So the duty of care on a public servant is higher than that of an ordinary citizen. What is the legal tender of the Republic of Ghana? It's the cedi. If you ask me, this wouldn't have even been an issue, probably.
Wait, is the problem the dollar or the problem is the optics?
No. Annie, the legal tender of the Republic of Ghana is the Ghana cedi. Right. This probably wouldn't have been an issue if...
Because even you do it.
Do what?
You dash people money.
Please don't accuse me of things you haven't seen me done.
Ah.
This, Annie, please, you are...
Land.
Okay.
Our time.
The legal tender of this country is Ghana cedi. Right. We've been complaining about cedi depreciation, dollarization, and all that. And you have a public servant in no mean a position as the acting head of the gold board, giving out as a gift dollars. If you see Abochi counting dollars, you raise eyebrows. That's what he deals in. If you go to the Forex Bureau or the bank to go and buy dollars and they are counting, it's not. But an ordinary citizen.
And now the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah Salmon, the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Gold Board, Sami Jemfi, after a viral video emerged showing him handing over an undisclosed sum of money reportedly in US dollars to evangelist and former Ofetus Priestess Patricia Odro Cranton, widely known as Nana Agradaa. Now, sources at the Jubilee House say Sami Jemfi has been asked to appear before the Chief of Staff to explain the circumstances surrounding the transaction, which has sparked widespread public criticisms and raised concerns over the ethical conduct of public officials. The footage, which has been widely circulated on social media platforms, captures Sami Jemfi in what appears to be a personal encounter with Nana Agradaa. The purpose and nature of the cash handover remain unclear, but the optics of a senior public servant giving money to a controversial religious figure have ignited a firestorm of speculation and public backlash. Critics have pointed to the video as potentially undermining President John Dramani Mahama's recently launched Code of Conduct for Public Officials, which emphasizes integrity, accountability, and transparency in public service. The code was introduced as part of broader efforts to curb corruption and restore public trust in government institutions. Meanwhile, Sami Jemfi on Sunday, May 11th, apologized over the incident and explained that it was a private act of kindness which unfortunately found its way into the public space. However, sources indicate that the Chief of Staff is treating the matter with urgency, given the political sensitivity and reputational risk involved. Nana Agradaa, now a self-styled evangelist, has long been a polarizing figure in Ghanaian public life. She was previously known for her involvement in traditional spiritual practices before publicly renouncing those ties and establishing a Christian ministry. Her past legal issues and ongoing public controversies continue to attract scrutiny. And now the Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Akwele Oklu has called on the newly appointed mayor of Tema Metropolitan Assembly to prioritize development projects in line with President John Dramani Mahama's agenda. She charged the mayor to work tirelessly to ensure the delivery of quality services to the people of Tema. The regional minister also commended the assembly members for demonstrating unity and overwhelmingly endorsing President Mahama's nominee for the assembly despite initial opposition.
To justify the confidence His Excellency has reposed in her. And it's my hope that at the end of the day, we are going to confirm her 100%. Like they said, we've done it at AMA, KMA, we are here at TMA. And we have a lot of beautiful dignitaries around. We believe you are not going to disappoint His Excellency the President. You are not going to disappoint our beautiful and handsome Queen Mothers and Chiefs here. Equally our dignitaries, not forgetting my own Chief Whip. He's also here to raise the occasion. And so please, let's do the needful. And it's my prayer that God Almighty will touch your heart to give us the yes vote, so that at the end of the day, our sister will be confirmed 100%.
And now in her acceptance speech, the new Tema Mayor E.B. Bright expressed gratitude to the president for the confidence reposed in her and pledged to provide transformational leadership that delivers real results.
Minister, presiding member, honorable assembly members, government appointees, ladies and gentlemen, TMA will explore more innovative ways to enhance our revenue mobilization efforts to enable us carry on more developmental projects. We plan to digitalize, train field officers, and ensure effective controls to guarantee revenue assurance. We will employ strategic partnerships to manage our sanitation challenges, redesign and control fiscal development within the metropolis, and properly address security challenges. TMA will adopt very proactive yet humane measures to effectively curb the menace of congestion and uncontrolled development. So this is the solemn promise. Fortunately, I join a cadre of men who have a very solid camaraderie. I bring to that gathering the touch of a mother, along with a few female government appointees with me. And we promise to deliver on our mandate with empathy, dedication, and excellence.
And our Vice President Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman has reiterated government support for women in the country, according to where the celebration of the Mother's Day reminds all of the profound impact mothers have had and continue to have in shaping the fabric of our society. This was made known at a celebration of Mother's Day by her office at the Jubilee House.
The Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Na Momolate, was reading the speech on behalf of the Vice President, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, acknowledged the immense contributions, daily sacrifices, perseverance, and wisdom of women to Ghana's development. Expressing her deepest gratitude to women on Mother's Day, the Vice President reflected on the essential role women play in nurturing and sustaining the fabric of Ghanaian life.
Today, we stand united to pay tribute to the women whose perseverance, wisdom, and daily sacrifices form the very bedrock of our families, communities, and nation. To every mother, grandmother, caregiver, and mother figure, we offer our deepest gratitude. We celebrate you today and always. It is thanks to women like you, public servants, teachers, healthcare workers, businesswomen, caregivers, and matriarchs that the foundations of our society are strong. Your work has shaped our history, enriched our present, and continues to inspire the future. The pride of this nation is built on the sacrifices you've made, and we want you to know that your contributions have not gone unnoticed.
She also reaffirmed government commitment to supporting women in Ghana.
I express our deepest gratitude to you for all you have done and all that you continue to do. This celebration is for you, to remind you of the profound impact you've had and continue to have in shaping the fabric of our society. May this Mother's Day serve as a renewal of your spirit, and may it reinforce how deeply you are valued. And rest assured that the NDC government remains committed to supporting, protecting, and honoring you now and always.
And now, meanwhile, Vice President Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman has also paid glowing tribute to female health porters, popularly known as Kayaye. Their courage, resilience, and strength in the face of hardships being them on their daily basis.
Resilient young women, daughters, sisters, and friends who, despite life's challenges, rise each day with unwavering courage and strength. You embody the essence of resilience, hope, and the transformative power of dreams. How then do we reset without you? You are but an integral part of our reset agenda. Today, we celebrate you because you matter. Your hard work, your dreams, your perseverance, they have not gone unnoticed. You are not alone, and you are never forgotten.
The Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Momolate, was speaking on behalf of the Vice President, His Excellency Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, when her office engaged headquarters, also known as Skayaye, at the Jubilee House, whilst commending and celebrating them for their courage and resilience in the face of numerous challenges. The Gender Minister also assured government's resolve to empower such marginalized individuals in the society.
And let me salute PAID, UNFPA, UNICEF, Amnesty International, and all stakeholders who are helping the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection to realize His Excellency John Dramani Mahamad's vision of reducing our social vices and also enhancing social protection. We want to reduce vulnerability to the barest minimum. We are happy to have you here. We cherish your presence.
Some headquarters shared some of the plights being faced by them on a daily basis.
Life wasn't easy. We were sleeping outside, and we sometimes face a lot of challenges like rape, physical abuses, and verbal abuse, emotional abuse, and lots of abuses. And sometimes when it's raining, we need to stand till the rain stops before we can sleep.
And I was the Gender Minister speaking on behalf of the Vice President. Now moving on to do some other stories. The Member of Parliament for Wejagbawi, Jerry Ahmed Shaib, has expressed concern over punitive flooding in the area, stating that while much remains to be done, he's actively engaging the Ministry of Works and Housing to address challenges with storm drains and authorized buildings on waterways.
I wouldn't say we are very prepared. I think we are to some extent prepared. And we are still working on some of the major issues to be dealt with. For instance, we know that most of the drains on my own, before getting in, even as Member of Parliament, I've done few drains and at very critical areas within my constituency where normally when it rains, you would have some of these floods. So that is one of the ways to prepare. But the drains we are looking for largely are storm drains. And you know, storm drains, I would need the Ministry of Works and Housing to come in. I've spoken to the Minister. I've also done a statement on the floor of Parliament on flooding and preparation and the support needed. The Speaker gave consequential orders to also see the Minister. We've met with Ghana Water, because in our case they even normally go ahead to also do some spillages. They've done the stakeholder engagement with the Assembly and then other residents associations, and we've also educated them on the way forward. But what we are still seeking to do is to do some dredging and desilting before the rains will set in seriously, hopefully by the end of the month or early next month. So I spoke to the Minister again, I think 2 days ago, the Minister of Works and Housing, and he assured me, he said to me he's up north. He's going to come back on Sunday, so I can come into the office on Monday for us to look at those other movement plans, especially the issue of dredging and desilting.
And our low-lying electricity high-tension cables on the Amakofi Street in Okankwei South has finally been fixed after Metro News reports on the looming danger it posed to residents and commuters.
On May 6, 2025, Tuesday, Metro TV brought you a report of some electricity looming danger here at Kaneshie First Light on the Ama Kofi Street, where high-tension cables, naked wires were hanging so low in homes, which was looking like one hanging thread. People here were scared, especially for the household where the cables ran through. They are unable to close their gates for fear of being electrocuted, and their security issues were left in the open. Fast forward, authorities have come to their rescue. A new electricity pole has been erected. The high-tension cables have been moved from the broken one, or the soon-to-collapse electric pole, to the new one that has been fixed. Now it is evident that the cables have been put as high as possible, such that commuters will be free. They would be able to commute through without any fear of being electrocuted or without any casualties being recorded in the future. For the residents that are living around now, they can be able to have or carry their security in their hands. The gates can be closed.
We appreciate their efforts. I mean, the ECG, we appreciate their effort very well for what they've come to do in our aid, because it was a very scary thing for us, and they have been able to solve it for us. And we say thanks to them, the Assembly, MP, and everybody who was involved in it that has made the cables to be fixed. We say thank you to them.
Well, I'd like to thank Metro TV for the opportunity. The coverage also helped in the fixing of this problem. And I had to report to the district engineer that no, it's the true thing. The pole is coming down. As a result of that, it is making the 3 lines also do what? Also come down. So immediately they came to check. But coincidentally, the day you people came to do the filming and the reporting, that was the day they procured the street poles. After that moment, there were no street poles available at ECG. So I also like to commend the community for also standing up. In as much as they told me about it, I also make a step, and they also followed up. In most cases, when community members make reports, they don't follow up. They just sit down aloof and see if something will come up. But my community people, they followed up, and they are making my work very, very easy. That is how we have to work in the community.
And now on our Tidy GA segment, Assembly members in the Kaneshie area have commenced a month-long sanitation exercise ahead of the rains. They maintain this in a move to mitigate casualties associated with the floods in the Greater Accra region. They were speaking to Metro News Shadrach Odami Ejar.
The rains have started coming in, and the calls for areas, especially flood-prone areas, to desilt their choke drainage is still being intensified. Today, I am here at the Kaneshie market in my roamings, where I chanced on some intensive cleanup exercise going on here. This is one area that really gets flooded each time the rains come in. There's this woman here. I spotted her earlier with her rake working. Hi, welcome to Metro News.
Ofine be an Kaneshie electoral area ne meje unit committee chairperson ye Kaneshie electoral area ni wona aka nyumo ba abu enemo e wo won to wasa wo community e got am in echimo heni alobo la ahwe heni ka wo kwa ne ba agba ka nyumo ne e ba machine ne ba agba mana wo ke wo assembly member etashin wo ke la awia ke bia na rainy season e she wo won to no fe clean up ni wasa wo community ni di Kaneshie electoral area wo be ne wo kanya yu ne wo ye Kaneshie police station na ehia ni di Kaneshie market me kuma ka me heba wo mi wo fe won sa because am like ehia wo fe ya akucho emi.
Thank you so much, Edwina. So Edwina is a unit committee member. She's a chair, and according to her, or like I mentioned, she only reiterated in GA that it is very important or incumbent on the people around to take up their sanitation matters into their own hands, getting the drainage desilted such that once the rains come in, they are not going to be affected. So they are doing all the desilting around the Kaneshie electoral area.
You know, when it comes to Kaneshie, it's a flood-prone area. So as the assembly member, together with my unit committee, we said no. We are about to observe the ban of drumming. So why don't you use that opportunity to distill all the gutters? That's the main drainage system in Kaneshie. So that at least by the time the rain sets in, the rain will have a nice passageway to go. If you had come earlier, you could see the rubbish were on top. So we can now see the depth of the gutter, which clearly shows how well we've done the work. So now when the rain comes in, you just come here, just passes and go. Initially, when the rain comes in, because of the gutter is very choked, the rain goes on the road. This is not the only place. We are going to distill behind the Kaneshie police station, straight to Pamplona. We will distill First Light, we will distill Awudome and TV Africa, Awudome Cemetery area. So we are distilling all the major drains in Kaneshie, and we are using the month of May to do that.
But again, to make your work easier or to open it up, is it supposed to be just the assembly doing this, or it has to be a collective effort from the people? And also, what will be your message? Because earlier I was speaking to Edwina behind the cameras, and we were talking about people's attitude towards sanitation.
Well, people's attitude towards sanitation is very, very bad. And as leaders, if you say we are going to work in line with the way their attitude is, we won't get anywhere. So I formed a sanitation team whereby every week we are going from gutter to gutter to do what? To distill the gutters. I can't wait for the community members. Honestly, I can't wait for them. When I wait for them, they will make my work very difficult, because communal labor in this community is very difficult. As you can see, the market people are here, even the police station. We are distilled in front of the police station, but have you seen any police officer coming to join here? No. But they were all aware that we are coming to do this thing. But no one is here.
This is just one assembly, or this is just one electoral area. And believe you me, if every other electoral area is emulating this, where the unit committee members or assembly members or the district assembly or municipal assembly, I mean all the MMDAs coming together to do their bits and pieces or little bit of desilting, drainage, and then helping with sanitation issues, I'm sure the issue of flooding is going to be mitigated. My name is Shadrach Odami Ejari, Metro News, Kaneshie.
And that's it for the news update on Good Afternoon Ghana with me, Dominic, Nana, Kwame, and Sapra. Crossing over to Annie for the rest of the show. Annie, over to you.
Right, Dominic, thank you so much for the updates. What do you make of Sami Jemfi's? I mean, well, that's the most widely spoken about gesture today. What do you make of the whole act?
Let's see what happens.
All right, so we'll be going into the details of that and speak with some persons that have actually spoken and shared their opinions. Others also want to share their opinions. We'll be speaking with Vitas Asim, anti-corruption campaigner, and also Nyaho Tamaklo. Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo will speak with him later, and Haruna Idrisu of the MPP will also join us as we speak about this. Then we have reports of Burkina Faso under attack. Of some jihadists that have attacked Burkina Faso, have captured some part of the area. You know, the Ghana shares, borders with Burkina Faso, and Burkina Faso right now is being led by Ibrahim Traoré. The whole world is supporting Ibrahim Traoré. Is he going to be able to hold Burkina any longer? What are the consequences and the overflow that Ghana is likely to face? We'll be speaking with mediation and peace building experts Emmanuel Bombande. He's also a former Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs for this particular country, Ghana. We'll talk to him and give you some more details of what exactly is happening in that area as well. These and more coming up after the break.
So much love in the air. What are we looking at?
Thank you guys for joining us on this unforgettable night.
Paw Patrol is on a roll.
It's Max Verstappen in the lead. The megastar is here.
Absolutely sensational.
Let's go!
Just taking a trip down memory lane.
Get unbelievable entertainment that is unbelievably easy to own. Get and stay connected to DSTV.
Whether you're a wholesaler, retailer, or consumer, MNC Logistics and Trading is your trusted partner in minerals and food commodities trading. Experience the difference with MNC Logistics and Trading for your commodities trading. We operate a well-equipped laboratory that smelts and assays gold to ensure transparent, credible, and reliable minerals transactions. Our general food commodity market deals with imports and exports of food products such as rice, sugar, and grains. We pride ourselves on delivering products that meet the highest standards of quality and taste. With our expertise in international trading and logistics, we bridge customers far and wide. Locate us at number 4 Neosai Interfo Avenue, East Legon, Accra. Call us on 030-299-8246 or visit our website www.mnclogisticsandtrading.com. MNC Logistics and Trading, hub of confidence.
Monday. Mommy,
me pesa me kasa efa video no o za Ghana for no sometimes I am no ye nipa bi a o dwen wo mo aya na wo nte ase se obi hu se obi eni obi gina baabi anase obi ni obi kasa ana obi ni obi eye bibia omo fa no different perception enu ti na me wa ha na de enti ame wa before se me bo video no de enti ame wa ha no obi anim se me Sami Jemfi number 1 onye madamfo number 2 me nhia no da number 3 me nini di nkomoda number 4 me nini number ne level baby owo no ene me level me wo form owo soro na de tie nie ene me call baby very special place ene me call he na bra me free program na se a me ba no ene me do baby pera me hu say class bi to so me too many ana me hu ye nua bema Sami Jemfi te me hu ye nua bema Sami Jemfi pe na me ka che me kun so da hane ma nyina na ma hu onabo Sami Jemfi anos na o de wo obi a wakwakoye politics ama MPP fo ayi ye nua bema Sami Jemfi mu Eya NDC ni ade na wo se yenyina. Ena me kunu ginae. Ena me see from. Me akasa bola avono so. Me akasa na me see from. To me see from so lucky. Na ye nua be masa me Jemfi nso asi from a woni nkrofo bi edi nkomo. Eti me na me nante ye na me call ne nchen. Eti me call ne nchen no ena me bo me din. Me kra in fact, to be honest with you, nyame nim de oye de bia because said na me hwenia me di ye NDC fo eniama ye beto aba ensemu a me kekan ye eniama me ye na me hia ye nua be masa me Jemfi no ne me feel kwa so be pam me oh ne body guys omudi na chikura be pia me say ma me kɔ but onya botre na me chia no to be chia ni wie no sha se o tu me fo abusua mu ntie ni yie ti asem ni yie. Don't twist anything. And I said, don't be offended. Because video no, I said, Grophobia will say, yen you be massa medium fee, ama mama part dollars be ekitanensem. And utsina me waha. I am here to explain the reason why in tia o yi says Kaneshie mensa. Nagana for me Agradaa mitibuya. Sisika we nyesika. What I say? Sika we nyesika biya. But a yes, it's been your baby man me ben no. Momo lava no so. Me blame ni abema no. Ano sha se no say, "Oh, mommy, we a nice woman." Na se ne wo ye fe ne se ne wutie yi. Ene se ne ya me hu social media we ni so hye, wo didi atem, wo kontokwa, ene ade no. Twaso, jai santokwa no. Na wo ye fe dodo. E chen sa ne ma na wo ye wo social media so no. Na sa akra na wo ye ya wo di bi ba e me ha me papa oluman so. What I say, would it be by me papa olumai JM so? Na dear pa na JM dia ye untia. Utimi at this hour near my ye by JM so. And I'm so brassa me Jemfi. JM as some normal kind, and ya no cray. A ye preaching, and I'm preaching ye. And a bloggers, a good try ye. And almost de quiet de say ye. As a me DJM at some. Na no crano. Mumpeni phone ba ko frame me. Emma me be ye video e correct ye say me the DJ am atsem because obi anu say JM oda makoma so pa me penasem pa na NDC e da makoma so. Eti abra me kan say NDC e da makoma so no. Ana obi sa am say ye nua be ma ona bo se me Jemfi. Ana obi sa am say na say NDC da wakoma so a e ba na say ne ye to aba utimi betina ase ebe ye dede ema ba wo mea ebe ye ba wo mea wini wo na wo ka kire me se NDC da wakoma so ena me se me ka kire me se same onabo ade abaku eye me ja e wo makuma mu abusua bola no so ade abaku ye me ja e wo makuma mu na ade na ye me ja wo makuma mu ne se me do NDC papa me we NDC mu fiti me nkola brem ama busuafo nyina ye NDC fo ami si mi fie kase ewo obo Agradaa Love Palace efie no na me na mu da na me na fie no mu da na me tsena mu da me wie fie no foforo no na mo ba be ye election na mo ba ye election no mo nkrofo ni bi e baye ano mo ba be ye politics o mo ba ye work e wo obo the whole house no commit media rent home over like millions of dollars dollar bundle be 1,000 come the rent home now so e san say me do GM na me do NDC party ti me di fie ni ma wo mu free eyi makuma mu se di be si bia no me di fie na ma wo mu o mu fanya politics Sadia beya se Yakopon ya dum ni nyina bom pa ya ne papa JM etimi wini a menso mi fie na me dia mo dia ye politics no awo mo bedam free for 4 solid days because mo ba ya woda efie da bi kura ba Wednesday almost getting to 1 week ya mama Christiana Wuni eka ho bigger quest eka ho Kuma Wood Stars awo mo ye campaign ma NDC nyina omo ka ho me di fie ho ma wo mo free amanjo mo kapre because na ye nyina ye bua ma JM atimi aba momo love no so 1.4k momo love no so me because me suma ho de ametime de aboa wo underground me ye t-shirts e de boa nkrofo eye me baby me ya sorry MP omo wo ho me boa wo mo underground me ye niam bebre e de boa JM na de tie ne se abrantie bi ye de asama to no so na abrantie no e de ne nkwa ekotwa so ekobu odua e de maame abrantie no nso ye obi a wo ye MPP ni enti sabrantie na kwaye sa de ne de ne nkwa to so maame de ya na chese meme mua me de aboa NDC e ka mabo emu t-shirt amaye emu Miami TV station me de ma NDC fo betina me TV station eye campaign di ma JM ma ju BS ka me mom airtime free e de ye campaign oba Miami status wa me postu JM abra ne ye ensema me ne ye ne be masa me jemfin e kan na me ka kire no Adia be ba TikTok. Na Sami Jemfi ye nipa bi I have respected him today because me share abufu ne niema bi a ma ye etia NDC. Enso Sami Jemfi timi nya abotre etie manum nsem a wotimi unsa na drivers no ene ne bodyguard ne na police phone nyina omudi na chi no. Omo pentama move car no but was mo ntwen. E mi nti Agradaa nu mu asem. Mi nti Agradaa akoma so asem. And I'm saying, Mr. Jemfi, Adia be ba TikTok. Na ye hye nipa wo dono. Me hye ye de JM ne di kan. E ma me de nkofo bi koto last. Ti se ye show bi a no do JM pa me na me di kan. Enso abrante ne ne nkwa koto wo ma me nti no. Na me ni choice. Na wo se me nso me ye bibi. Na me di tua abrante no eka. E no bi sa me nti se die pa ne ha me. And I say, I dear Hammy wo makuma mu, eye me fie na me de ma NDC for ye campaign free. O mama me kapre. Na nyame ya dum, na JM abetena so. Na makwala bone nsem, ene me niama amaye enti, ene NDC, ye me free mu. Na ma ntimi ye nyamfa so obi free. Sa me sacrifice me fie, me sacrifice me TV station, me sacrifice me platform, me sacrifice me TikTok, enyi nara. Ene sa de na me koye nti no. Ma nya fa so bi am free. JM ho e wa bla JM awi ni. Enti e papa sa me jemfi na ma hia we. Me de chopa kase e fa so. Sa fa kuma ya papa JM man John Dramani Mahama. The man's a boy, incoming prophets. Minimum papa no nyame e dana koma so. Facho pakese e koma na mama se me pa ne chow. Meet me ni di na temo da. Na ye editing e no mo be ye e no mo de to me so. Abusua mo love no so e mame. Na afenso e ye mame lodina. Facho pakese e ma ye mame lodina. Se me pa ne cho ne ba ne me boni bia ma ye bia won fa me boni nche me de me kan ye bia won fa me boni nche me afenso wa wo ye mi nua be ma sabe jemfi mi bu nkotodwe nyina wo fa me boni nche me se me kaka sabi ma ne ye wo ya fa me boni nche me afenso ye nua no mu a omo ye ayi NDC youth e ma bi omo gina NDC achi e ma bi omo ye NDC fo me ma bi omo ye NDC fo me de fa so se fa chopa kese e fa ma wo mo ma me na bi si biem na se die me ankasa makoji mani so na me koya amaba se pa se metena se obi de NDC abanya ni mu ba ye fom ana JM ani mu ba ye fom ana wo ankasa me nua be ma sa me jemfi ye de wani mu ba ye fom me sraw we de me de chopa e fa so na ja me bu nkoto dwe so ne nan na me pa ne chop ti me pa ne cho wie ya wo ko no na me se papa ne kura ne sen ifie ya me di ma mu free wo de ma me fu well abusua mu ntie o e me wie ye no na me se same ne kura ne sen wo de me fie ya me di ma mu yi wo de ma me fu well na at least me so makoma entome yem na me se me charge mo a eye sika bebre enti mami fuel ene John wa phone ne car to phone car no ena me ami di na chi just wo fro car na kwa mete talent ho ena me ami di na chi ena ja oyi ne person ena o kind dollars say 1,000 or say and of the mammy to the mammy na ja me so ba pa me so mu ti me so mu akakra kan na me sa je ye na me say eh ena de manya hia Yesu nko ade Samaria ni ba wo ba ja me moja tumi mfinhia duasa nwotwe na me nya yalesa na me moja tumi de entre ni nyame aye madom ne mahia same gemfi ene wo se moja no etwa ewa na do de share me nsa no de kae no me hwam free ne nsam na wo ye honorable nti no wanti me me age gidigidi e de ni Agradaa me fa no kode na ja me se ye me ne me krui se na nkofo bi teba bi kitafon abusia wala avona so se na nkofo bi teba bi kitafon e no mo video e no mo de ade na beto abonten ama de na luku ti say asa me ne same gemfi e wo like asa wo ye madam fu bi mi hia ne da kana fo minim ne da na wo hwe me mama part bra ma bre wen di se ho so many years fie kodu ho e di mi fie ama wo ma ye campaign di mi TV station ye campaign e de me internet ma ho de mani mo nyam aye campaign na just seconds yayi en so ria to me mama so hye na ka mo fo se nye jimi na me jimi me ho ena ka me di mi le mu ne kan na ma hia sa me gemfi ya san ka blog pa na ka me di o enso so ma ko jimi me hu te ja me hia no yin no ko fi o no mo baye eja wo kan ma me wi kra no enya hi bia ena me die ne edin na ja wono so ye gentleman sa me gemfi se me no so ye gentle sa o wo ye young boy wonim nyansa. No wonder say ye papa je ma peja ne na koto gold ne wonim nyansa papa because he cannot de mama ne kra no or twetwetwe no am say abranti a wuti sika no ka we say wotam ne boom enso wo twetwe wo timi say obo wo man ni sika ne ho ban bola avano so obo wo man ni sika ne ho ban because kotodwa ni mabunu sika na me person ye de mama no na me hwese wo yi sika na fe no wo kan ne baako mienu miasa na me say sabe je fi na branti pa na o ya chese sa no ana sika yi na wo kan wa na me hwam free ne nsem so what ya say na obi gina baby and wo video to me pam show so ye ndisi babu ana o ye pani bi wo ye obi na wo se sabe je fi ma me sika o tu me fu ana me na me dan ne ka se me fie na me de momo ye yi no omma me fu we me so na mahia me Samaria ni ba mahia ni omma me moja ntwa ene ja wamma me moja no kofio ti no kofio ye papa sami gemfi ade ama me ma wuso ma twa na ko viral da bi me pacho ye nyina ye de anwode ba be tai NDC government ye pew ye mpew they are in the power. And omo power no me enne mahia same gemfi wo pon jimi a ma jimi me hu wo man yi mu wa ma na police fo na me kwa nche me fo so be ma police fo na twa me ma ana so be ma police fo no kwa kire me ya sheka mu akobbo me ma de me ya shega wuru mu but wa say oh mama ne mra mama Agradaa bra me du wa na ja me kotu ya na me so me nua be ma nan ena ja me nua be ma ma me dollars kakra $80 kakra odi aba me mesra mo mane ha mo wate ma mo nyama de se bia Agradaa wadi DJ amatam Agradaa ene wa ye sei ena sabe gemfi ene wa koma niska da bi otumefo makama sama kire no ene wo hu se da bi ma me no wose me nche ne bibi ntofu odi eya me na me bisa no enye ono no de ma me bisu de me hia wo na wo ye minister wo ye MP me dollars de me bisa wo Saline je mo lavo no so many abre me person fu mu bi asresere wa ha say na wo bi tekwan baby enkoto dwena me bu ye no wentwa same gemfi nine.
All right, that was quite a lengthy explanation coming from Agradaa there. Agradaa is supposedly a minister, and then she's also, well, she's a minister. leading a church. And we all know that she's one of the very popular ministers we have in this country. She's always on social media, sometimes quite extreme, sometimes quite funny, quite a controversial woman. Sometimes you even find her engaged in, social media battles with people. So she is just there all over the place. Now, the reason you would ask, or you may want to understand why it's a big deal that someone is only just carrying out a gesture, a kind gesture, and it's become this topical. It is simply because the person is a public office holder. And so it is fair to analyze, understand, have some transparency in that transaction that just happened. And obviously, Agradaa has taken to social media to explain to us so much how she even ended up taking money from Sammy Gyamfi. According to her, it started even with an apology of she offending the current president, Mahama, and then later she demanded that some monies be given to her, which she says someone was hiding somewhere filming, okay? So it also has become topical in the effect that the amounts that was given or the monies that were dashed to her were in foreign currency, which of course you know that in this country there's so much spoken about dollars, the use of dollars in transacting businesses, and also the disturbance of dollarization to the economy. And so it has become quite, some issue there for us to also look into it and ask why, if someone is giving out dollars, money, it has to be in the foreign currency. I'm sure Sammy Gyamfi will want to explain that. Now, there was an apology that came right after, which was yesterday. So let's go onto the screen and read from the apology as Sammy Gyamfi rendered to us, all right? So the apology reads, it says that, folks, I've taken notice of the wave of criticisms against my person in the last 24 hours. To clarify, this was simply a kind gesture. To clarify, this was simply a kind gesture to a fellow human being in line with my daily life and long custom of lending and helping hand to the people in need. I sincerely thought that was doing this act of kindness in private. I never imagined that some could find its way into the public space. That is unfortunate and regrettable. Now, I must say that I understand the uproar that this gesture has generated, particularly from the comrades who are sincerely hurt by same. To all such comrades, I am sincerely sorry. That's captured in block letters, as you can see, for the unfortunate act of indiscretion. And he describes the acts as indiscretion. I respect and appreciate your views. In brief, that was the apology that came from Sammy Gyamfi. Now, it continues to say that my profound appreciation goes to those who have reached out to counsel and encourage me. I'm most grateful for your solidarity. Let me state, however, that my view of public office as privilege to serve society, solve problems, and help others has not changed. I remain focused on the tasks entrusted to me by His Excellency, the President, for the development of the country. Stay blessed and have a blissful Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to all mothers out there. I'm sure that the Mother's Day celebration is always going to be a memorable one for Sammy Gyamfi, because of this particular development. He had gone to a funeral, or attended a funeral, I think of the mother of Prophet Nigel Gazi, I'm told, and then happened to have met Agradaa at this funeral. All right, so now following that, a development came in this morning that Chief of Staff summoned Sammy Gyamfi to the office. So the story actually read that the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, has summoned the acting CEO of the Ghana Gold Board following a viral video in Sammy Gyamfi a scene handing out money in the public or in public. So Mr. Gyamfi gave out an undisclosed amount of foreign currency, reportedly in US dollars, to evangelist and former fetish priestess Patricia Odro Kranting, popularly known as Nana Agradaa. Now, insiders at the Jubilee House also confirmed that Mr. Gyamfi had been requested to present himself before the Chief of Staff to clarify the circumstances surrounding the controversial gesture. All right, we have on the phone lines Adam Senanu, and he is an anti-corruption campaigner. Adam Senanu has joined us via phone, if I'm right. We have Adam Senanu with us on the phone lines, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Sanan, you are welcome to Good Afternoon, Ghana. Thank you for your time. So it is all, all over the place. In fact, I saw the updates following Sammy Jemfi's apology and everything that has happened. Firstly, your first take on this development.
Well, yes, it's an unfortunate development. Truth is, he hasn't breached the Constitution. He hasn't breached the law. He has not even breached the Executive Policy Code of Conduct from what I can see, except for perhaps the issue of accountability to the people, which could be blurred by his actions. And so really, I think that many of them need to be cautioned that when you transition from your private personal life and business into public office, everything you do must be in the name of the citizens and for the welfare of citizenry, according to Article 1.1. And therefore, any action that might seem to be, ostentious, not well thought through, should be things that they are cautious about and not engage in. And I think it's to that extent that Mr. Sammy Jemfi has gotten himself into this unfortunate situation.
So I get the impression that the citizens' movement against corruption are quite disappointed with this development.
Well, yes, that Mr. Jemfi appears not to have been very self-aware that he's not, in his private capacity where he can do humanitarian acts anyhow. Now, as a chief executive, that's a high-level ranking senior officer. He needs to be cautious, circumspect about what he does, modest in the way he handles money, and measured in terms of who he deals with and how he handles things. So it's unfortunate that somehow he missed that and allowed himself to get into this situation.
Mm-hmm. He describes in his apology, he describes that is a judgment. His judgment says this is an indiscretion act, carried out, which he should have considered. Is this something that you would say? You mentioned the code of conduct. In fact, we have gone through the code of conduct, and we are checking which one he may have possibly breached. We've not been able to place a hand on it. But you see, if you read the code of conduct right from the first paragraph, the address by the president himself, this morning a reference was made to, it says that good governance, transparency and accountability form the foundation of strong partnership between the state and society as well as among citizens. So they are connected, interconnected principles that create a government that is legitimate, effective and widely supported by citizens. So under this umbrella, it's under this umbrella that we, the public office holders, must constantly be mindful that public confidence in government institutions is vital to democracy. This is where we also note that it looks like acts like this, break public confidence in government institutions. Are we right to judge that way?
Well, yes. The thing is, first of all, the explicit letter of the policy or code of conduct of the law, you will not find anything specific. Okay, you won't find anything specific. So that's why I'm saying that one cannot say that Mr. Sammy Jemfi has breached the law or even breached the code of conduct. However, there are related issues relating to the fact that when you're a public officer, everything you do comes under public scrutiny. And how you manage even your private funds must be done in such a way that it does not lead a reasonable citizen to begin to ask questions as to, are these public funds Are they being handled well?
Exactly. In from the paragraph I was reading from, if you move further, second paragraph, third paragraph, fourth paragraph, in like the fifth paragraph, there are some bullets there. In one of the bullets, it writes, prevent waste and mismanagement in the interest of public accountability and national development.
Yes, so it is to that extent. I mean, that sounds like a mirror of Article 41F. It is to that extent that you should not put yourself in a position where people will have to ask, is this his own money or is it public funds? And that is why this is considered as an indiscretion. I'm quite certain that if we went into the merits of it, we may find that these are his own monies. He's a lawyer, and also you can see that it wasn't that he was giving her all the money and then she snatched the rest. So that was not his original intention. But the thing is that public officers need to keep themselves away from such potential situations in the first place. You need to be mindful. So for him to not have realized that giving dollars at a public event, even though I would say it was in his car, it was still at a public event, could expose him. That was a really bad indiscretion. And I'm glad that he's apologized.
Is his apology enough? I'm told that, even as a public servant, an apology is punishment in itself.
In my view, I think it's enough. Because I can't find anything in the law or policy that you can say he has breached substantively. So it will be speculative, it will be more or less. Then let's go to the strictest proof of law, which means that where's the evidence? So now you have to go and check, is this money that he legitimately earned? And then once he can prove that, and I'm quite sure that he'll be able to prove that, I mean, this is money he's earned. So we may be stretching it, and that's why I'm saying I don't think that it is sufficient. I think what it is it provides opportunity to the president to caution all his appointees that, look, you are no longer a private person. If you are a humanitarian and you used to do these things, don't forget that the average citizen is struggling and they're looking up to us. They would be really, really upset with any kind of ostentatious living or giving monies that the ordinary citizen does not earn. It will raise legitimate questions. So this is an opportunity for the president, I see, to caution him and caution all appointees. Not just that, also perhaps an opportunity to update the code of conduct, as it were, to cover any actions that could bring the government into disrepute or involve ostentatious living that will require lifestyle audits. I think that a clause much more specific to lifestyle audits because of the way you are living would be helpful. But critically, I think that what this points to is let's get the Code of Conduct for Public Officers Bill, Conduct of Public Officers Bill, which has went to the cabinet in the last government. Let's take a look at it, dust it, finalize it, and pass it. Because if you have a law passed, then all 35 million Ghanaians can hold accountable duty bearers, and it's not left to the president having to sanction or take a decision or not. I think that's much, much more what this country needs at this point.
Indeed. When you were called, I was asking if, in my mind, I thought I wanted to ask you if there is a limit of an amount that we, put public servants to, that if you go beyond this limit, you'll be subjected to investigation. And if we do not even know the amount doled out, like what was given to Agradaa, then you'll be subjected to strict investigation for us to get to know how much you gave out. So we see where we can draw the line in putting you to strict proof or investigation.
Sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
The first part is I was asking if we have any specific amounts that draws a line in terms of public officers, how much we want to see, whether you are giving out gifts or you are receiving gifts, what the last thing the amount that we think that this is beyond the threshold that we set for public servants, so that if it goes beyond that threshold, then we are subjecting you to strict proof of or investigation.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think we don't have that established anywhere. And I think that much more critically, we should be encouraging our public officers to stop that habit, and also encouraging citizens to stop that habit, because I think there's a sense in which we end up being complicit to criminal activity, because we know that many of these politicians are giving out much more money than they actually earn. And what it means is that then there's a vicious cycle of they must be looking out for all kinds of procurement and other supply deals, demanding things which ordinarily shouldn't happen. So I think that once we get into public office, we should refrain from any form of such giving of monies. We should tell the citizens, when you go demanding, what you do is you create a cycle where they will find ways and means of trying to get it, and then we suffer because that procurement, when it's supposed to be maybe just 50 million, ends up being 100 million, and then the quality of the outcome in terms of roads or infrastructure to suffers. So I don't think it will be about, I know that the president has said 20,000 on one hand, which has to do with if somebody gave you money of that amount or above. I already think that lower threshold is too high. I think 20,000 is really too high. And I don't know whether it's because he's dealing with ministers, but I think that anything above 2,000 in general, it's a lot of money. So in my view, we should just, as it were, refrain and look down on any form of giving from public officers, because they have a certain amount of income. If they want to give, there probably needs to be a much more structured way, and one needs to think through how that is monitored so that it's not abused, and then doesn't become a basis for which then they have to find other ways of, as it were, enriching themselves.
What about the, you said that his apology is enough. The minority in parliament is pushing, and they think that some tough punishment should be given to the acting CEO of Good Board. I'm not sure if you think that the minority should be heeded too.
Well, I don't think it's about the minority. I think it's about what does the law say, what does the policy say. I mean, I do training for people in public policy advocacy. Mm-hmm. And we say, after you say what is the issue, the next question is what is the law or what is the policy? Now, when I examine the existing law and policy, I find nothing that one can explicitly state at this point that he has breached. And so it would be strange for me to start asking for his head to roll or his position. I think that it is clear in my mind that what it is a public officer needs to be circumspect in the things he done. And it's a question of how professional was this or how accountable, because it will lead well-meaning Ghanaians and legitimately so to ask, is this your own money? Is it our money? And because it can reasonably lead to that, that is why it was an indiscretion. That is why it's something that we can all say he was not very circumspect. The amounts involved, especially in dollar currency, that's not modesty. And he needs to be more intentional. All of them need to be, that we are holding them to the highest possible standards, because that's what we expect.
But Mr. Senano, the highest possible standard for me is when a person claims in the same, and in this case, same political party claims that I want to make $1 million in politics before I probably quit. And this person was sacked. This person was dreaming of whatever she wanted to do, and she was sacked. That was, for me, a highest standard that has been set. But a situation where you also see that an officer or public servant is, this one unfortunately caught on camera, giving out money. It's not in cedis, but in dollars. If you think that the punishment should not be so strict because he's really, and I agree with you, he's broken no law, then what exactly are we talking about here?
Well, I can't speak to the circumstance because I can't remember the details of when whoever said the dream is to do 1 million. Was it in a transaction? Was it in a negotiation? Did it involve an activity?
No, it did not. It was just a conversation. A conversation caught on tape.
Yes. What I'm saying is that I don't know whether there was any public interest involved in that conversation because I can't remember the facts of it. The point is simply this. in this instance that I'm aware of all the facts, I don't see a legal perspective of what he has breached. I don't see a policy perspective. I see that it's an indiscretion. I am unable under those circumstances. If you give me more facts on the previous one, maybe I can understand why the person involved was sacked. I don't know what the circumstances were. But in this instance, I can't see a strong basis for you to say the person should be sacked. I can't. I mean, you're talking with me about 1 million, was it cedis or dollars, compared with somebody who gave, and in fact, you can see that he wasn't even giving, I don't know how we arrived at 2,000, whether it was actually $2,000 he gave. You can see he counted some, and then to his shock, I think she grabbed everything, and that was it. So we can't even tell what actually had he, decided he was giving out or whatever he had.
We actually don't know if the dollar notes were in $20 notes or $50 notes or $100 notes or even $10 notes. We're not sure the details of the notes.
So that's what I'm saying in general. I mean, and it was clear that he didn't even intend to give all that he was holding in any case. So in my view, you can only give a caution, because anything that is not done with a very firm foundation leads us down a slippery slope, because the next time, how would you, in a very scientific, systematic way, draw the conclusion that this is the way to go or not to go? And so the specificity is important. And I think in this instance, what it is that's why I said, listen, if you want to upgrade the code of conduct to say actions that bring the government to disrepute or any forms of ostentatious living that leads to a question on lifestyle audits, you may need some more specifics. And that's why the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, which is a much more comprehensive document this country has worked through, I got all the way to cabinet in the last government, is much more important. Will set the right kind of standard, because then when you breach it, there are even the sanctions that if you went to court, one could then clearly spell out that this is what should be done.
Mr. Sinano, your final words before I let you go, or a little few. So this has been, to be honest with you, this has been the practice of politicians. They sit in their cars, people chase them around, they dish them monies, and sometimes in cedis. Well, I don't know about dollars yet, but most of the times you find that it has been the regular practice. Foot soldiers are chasing them all over the place. Persons who just want to have, some assistance from them and have been looking for them and probably will not find them, will chase them right into our studios here. We see it almost all the time. And before they leave, they have to be dishing and dashing and giving. But I'm sure that practice has become normalized in a way that when they get into the public space, they lose focus that, listen, your position has changed. We are now paying you, so everything you're spending, we want you to account for it. So maybe your last words to politicians in offices who probably don't see the seriousness of the optics of these acts.
And you know what? I think that you raised such a very, very critical and legitimate concern, that the normalization is what led to this indiscretion, because people have gotten used to this. And indeed, I think all of us, right-meaning Ghanaians, condemn without any equivocation the continued dashing of monies at all kinds of events by our politicians, because we are clear that at the end of the day, these giving out of sums of money come back to, as it were, hurt us in our public and private lives, because then whatever taxes, whatever contracts, whatever services and utilities, somehow they are going to be inflated contracts and what have you. And so I think this is a message being sent to all Ghanaians, specifically the politicians, that citizens are no longer interested in having you do these things, when we know clearly that it is not that it is within your own remuneration. Most of the time, you're going to have to find some ways to pad up your pockets. This is from that. And I think the message also should go to all Ghanaians, especially those who are in the habit of chasing politicians, demanding, and sometimes, as it were, extorting money from them. We are being complicit in pushing these politicians to engage in activities that don't ultimately promote the welfare of the ordinary citizen. Let's stop from all these activities. Let's recognize that there's a normalization that we need to reset. Let's get back to ways that allow this country to use these resources judiciously for the things that matter.
Co-chair of Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Mr. Adamson, and we're grateful for your time and thank you for the advice there. All right, so we're dealing with the issue that's raging today, and that has to do with the acting CEO of Gold Board, Sammy Gyamfi. Obviously, Sammy Gyamfi is one of the biggest critics of governance, and so it raises a lot of concern that people saw him dishing out money, and as it was flaunted by Agradaa, claimed by Agradaa, it was in dollars or it was in dollar notes. Hence, the reason behind the criticisms, and rightly so, people must be concerned. So we are analyzing the situation and why that actually happened and what should be done going forward. This one says that, how much does Sammy Gyamfi earn as a civil servant to be able to churn out such an amount of money? I'm sorry, about what amount of money are you talking about? If you know the amount of money, you let me know, right? And then you could pose a question. Okay. You could pose that question. Well, then we have to ask Sammy Gyamfi. But then, I mean, those of you asking how much he earns, I think the agencies, we know how much, maybe averagely, how much the agencies earn a month. So you can check. And you can also check that if you actually know the amount Sammy Gyamfi actually gave out. Some are saying $800, some are saying $1,000, some are saying $1,500 and all. And we just have to know the specifics first before we are able to give you that analysis. But okay. So this one says that, Annie, so let me read this. It's quite lengthy, but let me try that. We're going to speak with Dr. Nyahota Maklo briefly. But this one says, Annie, considering where we've come from as a nation, where we currently stand, and what we hope to achieve in our democratic journey, I feel compelled to strongly and unequivocally condemn the action of Sammy Gyamfi. The so-called gifts, as shown in widely circulated video, appears to far exceed $2,500. Okay, fine. Judging from the extended counting and the manner in which it was snatched away, such a flamboyant display of wealth in these times is both alarming and deeply inappropriate. It must not be normalized or downplayed. So my concern is, how much does Sammy Gyamfi earn? And then it says, Ghanaians deserve transparency and accountability, especially from such public servants. To me, this act is like a dead fly in the pure olive oil of President Mahama's president. And if not dealt with decisively, that oil, once poured and useful, may soon become unfit for consumption. I respectfully call on the President Mahama to address this decisively, to remove the blemish and to uphold the integrity of the government and the cause he leads. This is concerned citizen, apostle of change. That's what you call yourself. So that's the analysis of this particular. Now, Edem Agbana also took to social media and wrote this on his wall. He says that, for those texting me and insulting me for standing up for my brother Sammy Gyamfi, I want to be clear. I do not wish to go into details, especially since Sammy Gyamfi himself has apologized for the indiscretion. And the Chief of Staff has also taken up the matter. However, if I have the opportunity to speak on it, I will always vouch for Sammy's integrity. I'm not one of those who swing between hot and cold. I'm a friend who will put my hand in the fire for Sammy, not only because he's my friend, but because I have known him and witnessed his rise in the tough political environment. So if you're typing, I'm disappointed in you, Edem, you are simply wasting your time. To many of you, the problem isn't that Sammy Gyamfi gave up money, but rather who received it. Fair enough, but whatever my views may be on these beneficiaries of the benevolence, I will share those with him in private. I know someone who once harshly criticized and insulted Sammy, but later received support from him during a health crisis. This is the kind of person Sammy is, and I'm sure that's what Agradaa was also trying to allude to. So to comrades who choose to go after him, our internal democracy permits you to do so. But just as you have the right to criticize him, those of us who have vouched for his character equally have the right to stand for him. Enjoy your day. Now, let me read this briefly before I go on to the phone lines as well, because some, acts are also, being spoken to. Sammy Gyamfi's act is being spoken to. Let me just capture this from one of the lawyers of the NDC, Francis Xavier Sosu, MP for Medina and Esquire. He starts by saying, it is well. You committed no crime. The haters are hurt. They can't believe that God can lift and bless you such that you can become a blessing unto others. Leave them. Let them do their worst. We've got you. God has your back. Stay focused and blessed. At Sammy Gyamfi. Let's go on to the phone lines and speak with Dr. Nyahota Maklo, who has also agreed to share his opinion as a senior citizen on this matter. Doctor, thank you for your time, and you're welcome to Good Afternoon, Ghana. Hello, Doc.
Hello.
Yes, I appreciate your time, Doctor, this afternoon. So you have been one of the people who have praised the Mahama personality first, and then the Mahama administration since he took office, which your party was not necessarily so happy about, and then this development has come. And do you also think, as a senior citizen, looking from where you stand and considering a young politician coming up and all this that he's facing, is this something that he should be criticized for?
First, let me make one position clear. I have not been one of the people who have been defending Mahama's cause. I am not a member of the NDC. I speak as an individual who believes that the right thing must be done. I speak also as an individual who believes that whatever is discussed, young people take it seriously. And let me just say one thing. I was listening to former retired Justice Atuguba last night, late in the night. And he made one important point. I'm not really quoting, but in short, what he said was that if one arm of government is overpowered, tyranny is not far off. This is a very serious statement concerning the Chief Justice case. We have just let a government that all of us complain about. We left a government that was shrouded with a whole lot of infractions. We left a government that there was open thievery. Indeed, the Attorney General is very busy at the moment trying to bring such people to the courts. I am not interested in whether a person has gone wrong or has been on the wrong side of the law. That is not what I'm talking about. So you ask yourself one question. When are we going to change? That's a question I ask myself. And believe me, I felt so sad. First, I thought it was just somebody who is trying to play the tricks as usual. But when I got that, I got to know that is really something that happened, I felt so sad. And I felt sad for this country, not for the individual. So when are we going to stop this? I wouldn't like to comment much on this, but I'm saying, and I'll say it again, because now the ordinary person is really, really, really annoyed. If you people don't know what is happening, some of us are with the grassroots and we know. Now, this lady or this woman who was giving the money started showing off with the money, bluffing with the money. So the question is, if an individual has given out dollars to somebody, a government official, number one, do we use dollars in Ghana? That's the first point. We don't use dollars in Ghana. So where are the dollars coming from? Can he account? Can he tell us where he had the dollars from?
Just a quick question, just to be fair in this case with Sammy Gyamfi. If Sammy Gyamfi decides to change his CDs that he has into dollar notes, has he broken any law?
No, I am not worried about what the law says in this particular case. This is a clear moral issue.
Okay.
Right? Now, even if it changes into whatever amount he has changed it into millions of dollars. Is he not destroying the economy of this country? The very economy we are trying to put together. The very economy that was messed up by the previous government. The very economy that led most of our elderly people into their graves. This sort of, as what do you call it? Justice Atunguba will say, double standards. We have to stop it. If it is wrong, it is wrong. You are a government official. You must know exactly what is happening. You must know and have sympathy for the people of this country. To me, what has happened is very painful. Very, very painful. And I'm so much disappointed. You have no idea. We follows the 8 years that some of us have been talking. And thanks to God, Akufo-Addo has been put out of power. It has been 8 years wasted. So this is the way I look at it.
What will be your advice to the government going forward on this development? Counting from the fact that you say you're disappointed.
No, that's why it's left to government. What decision they want to take. I'm not in government. It's left to them. What decision they want to take, they can take.
Because public servants who have been questioned, investigated, criticized, have done activities that involve millions of cedis, billions of cedis, billions of dollars. This is someone who was sitting in his car counting dollars to another person who decides to flaunt it without he in any way influencing her flaunt. And obviously, it won't even be up to $2,000 or maybe $1,005. I'm not sure the amount. However, how do we judge Sammy Gyamfi on these moral grounds? In his statement of apology, he says that it was, an indiscretion in his opinion, and he apologized for it. It was just, a private act of showing kindness to another person. And according to Agradaa, it was after a lengthy discussion she'd had with him, apologizing for some of the unsavory words she'd used on President John Dramani Mahama. So a lot was involved. This is not someone we say we've given him money and he has not been able to account for the money or anything of that nature. So how do we, on moral grounds that you're raising, measure Sammy Gyamfi on these grounds, on these moral grounds you raise?
No, that woman, Agradaa, is not the one to speak for John Mahama. That's the first point.
No, he was not speaking for John Mahama. He was apologizing for, using some words on John Mahama during the campaign season, according to her.
That is what it means. Apologizing for using some words on John Mahama. Yes. Yes. She was commenting about what she said on John Mahama. You follow me?
Yes.
And this is a woman, I don't know, but I've read a little about her. She's a trickster. And Sami Jamfi with his spirit, even though he's a young chap, and that hurts me a lot. His knowledge alone shouldn't have allowed him to go that low. He's a lawyer, I believe.
Yes.
You follow me?
Yes.
Now, we have been saddled with this sort of problem right after independence, bribery and corruption, offering money to people. This nation is always broke. Why should this continue? To be frank with you, I would have expected him not to have come out to apologize, because that is not necessary. I have said time and again that this country lacks the culture of resignation. If he had come out to say, I have done wrong, not that he has gone against any laws of the country, but morally I've gone wrong, and I'm resigning from my position, I would have carried him high on my head. That is what we need now. If this has happened in a civilized country, the individual would have immediately tendered his resignation, especially when you have it all over the news at the moment. That's all.
So those who are calling for Sami Jamfi's suspension and possible dismissal, is it too harsh, Dr. Nyahotamaklo? Do you think that demand is too harsh? Because persons are also saying that apology in itself by a public servant, depending on the weight of these moral grounds, is punishment enough.
I am not a member of government. I am not the president of the Republic of Ghana. I'm not the chairman.
That's true, but you've been in the space long enough to have the gravitas to judge.
Allow me to make my point.
Yes.
I am not the chairman of the NDC. I am not a member of the NDC.
Mm-hmm.
If the NDC goes wrong, I will say it. The MPP, when they were stealing, I spoke about it. You follow me? For 8 years,
yes,
before even the Akufo-Addo came on, I won this nation. So with my position, I'm not going to judge what should be done to him. We have a government and a party. They should deal with them. That's all. If they find him, if they find that it is something that has been done and it is not important, as a lot of people have been trying to massage it now, then they should leave it alone. But let me warn them, and I warn every politician in this country, that if the masses get fed up with us, the political class, that will be the end of this country. Because what will happen next will be tyranny. That's all. Thank you.
Dr. Nyahotamaklo, we're grateful for your time this afternoon. Thank you for the details. And, Nyahotamaklo's, ending line is that the masses, if they get fed up with the political class, that will be the end of us. In fact, it has been the worry of a lot of some analysts, citizens, senior citizens of his likes, and agencies, anti-corruption agencies, and some persons who have expressed this worry over and over again. In fact, I think before Parliament went on recess, the majority leader, Mama Yariga, had a strong worded statement on the floor of Parliament, talking about how even politicians themselves, as politicians, must be careful the way they carve their wording on the floor of Parliament, the way they put certain statements, because it was, and I'm sure it was a response to some statements from Afenyo Marking, which he thought was sounding as though you are asking us to provide protection for each other as a political class. And Mama Yaga thought that it's a very dangerous statement to make because we don't have to post a picture as though the political class is being protected because the masses might one day revolt. So that's the updates coming in from the Sammy Gyamfi's situation. Everyone that seems to have a bite on it have indicated that there is really no legal standing of this, but it is mostly or more the moral grounds that persons are actually criticizing the acts of Sammy Gyamfi. Now, let me give you some details of some updates from Burkina Faso, which we're told that insurgents have taken over. Insurgents have taken some parts of Burkina Faso, and we're seeing if Ibrahim Traoré will be able to control this or contain this before we start having the spillover. And like I said, remember, Burkina Faso shares a border with Ghana. And you know that Ibrahim Traoré took over through a coup, bloodless coup, I must say, and has been hailed by almost everyone that supports the whole world at large. He has his section that supports him. And we're told that some countries, powerful countries, superpowers, or some superpowers are trying to, get him off the seat. And so they're influencing certain acts. Is that true or not? But we'll come back and speak with Emmanuel Bombande, who is an expert in mediation and peace building, and then we'll get some updates from him before we wrap up. We'll be back shortly.
Ama, nansi mi jeno wo bin enko ye kwao. Ama ma ye bohu se kontomra akija.
Nansi me hu se me nyo basi makura. Ama me kunu ni me into kwankwa. Oh, you right. Enye mo ko. Give us JC lecture and the capsules. Aye num boom. En ho asem na mo kana. E boa emma ene meme nyina. Ne ma wo ba ye obesima. Na be ma so aye be masima. Ya, we be boa wukuru. Ama ne giant sa wo de hye ne botum. Na wanyinya na nim ti sese ne oyi chokwa. GC mixture and a castle.
A painful battle, one more menu for one and Quadawi if you do
MNC Group is a leading investment holding company with expertise in minerals and food commodity trading, precious minerals refinery, real estate development, and logistics and energy with individually registered companies. Our headquarters is located in Accra, Ghana, with operational offices in Dubai, UAE, Hong Kong, and Guangzhou in China, Johannesburg in South Africa, Virginia in the USA, and Milan, Italy. We connect business markets and drive growth. Trust us to maximize value in every deal. Call us on 0302 551 917 or 0302 551 918 or send us an email mncgroup@mncgroupgh.com. MNC Group, totally reliant.
Hi friend, where are we going today?
Just use your imagination.
Go, go, go! My family is the only thing that matters to me right now.
This is the stuff that Munich dreamed about.
These guys are the best. GoTV's ready to take you from your hometown to roaring stadiums and even on international adventures. So let's go together, from home or on the go with GoTV Stream.
Sounds like a great idea.
Woohoo! GoTV. Love it.
Welcome back to Good Afternoon, Ghana. Let's go into other issues from Sami Gyamfi. Let's, cross over the border and get to Burkina Faso, which are reports of what we call the gym jihadists attacked 8 different locations across the country in Burkina Faso, and we're told that the insurgents have taken over, chilling in the offices of military commanders and all. But we have the former Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs Ministry for this country, and he's also an expert in mediation and peace building, Mr. Emmanuel Bombande. Mr. Bombande, you're welcome to Good Afternoon, Ghana. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to all your viewers.
Right. So, firstly, have you monitored the situation in Burkina Faso, and do you think it's stable for now, even before we talk about the jihadists that we're told have taken over some parts of the country?
From some of the early warning reports that came in this morning, yes, I had 2 different versions of the, as you described them, widespread attacks. But this points to a growing threat that all of us are kind of apprehensive about. It is a situation in which we sometimes feel that we can see real and tangible improvements, but it's never the case. And that tells you exactly how violent extremism and terrorism is operating. And to that extent, yes, I have followed, and it is very concerning for a very simple reason. If you look at the Kupiela region, which is to the what they call the Centre-Est, it is to the eastern side of Burkina Faso. It is literally what I would describe as maybe 3 hours drive, and you could be at the border of Ghana. So the idea is not to raise alarm because the echoes are drawing near and near, but it is more to accept that it has never been well with our closest neighbor to the north, Burkina Faso, and to that extent, the real, concrete, tangible responses must be developed regardless of the separation from ECOWAS of the Alliance of Sahel States.
When you say that the ECOWAS are drawing nearer and nearer, but you don't want to, raise alarm, how do we reconcile this?
The reconciliation comes from what I have always described, going back when the violent extremism started to spread, that the type of concerted effort that required a certain high level of robustness has never been implemented. And I explain myself very briefly. We should have demonstrated from the beginning the tangible solidarity of all of West Africa in support of the Sahelian states. And when I talk about those tangible efforts, I mean a military high-level command to structure how we could have activated the ECOWAS standby force at that time when all these countries were part of ECOWAS, to be able to be on the ground and to support our neighboring countries to fight off terrorism. I think the greatest mistake we did was to see it as a problem of these countries who are our neighbors. And we spent a lot of valuable time talking about how the terrorism should not spread down south. But what we forgot was that when Burkina Faso is holding the fort and fighting off these terrorists, they are also fighting for Ghana. Because if they fail, if they overwhelm Burkina Faso, then we are next. So rather than the wait and see attitude, hoping that it will go away, we should have been there with them. And when I say we, I don't just mean Ghana. I mean a collective approach of the region.
But that's difficult, especially concerning how in the region, the Sahel states were actually punished for the action they took.
Yes, so that's precisely what I mean by the wrong decisions we made at a time that we could have thought out strategically how to be more responsive and how to be able to deal with this issue. Now, the example that you gave is very symptomatic of that failure, in my view. And what do I mean by that? Rather than the collective solidarity that we should have displayed, we were rather more concerned about the violations of our statutes. But the time is not normal in comparison to how we always operated. It was no longer just about our protocols and our status in ECOWAS. It was about an existential threat to the whole region. And the level of deep thinking should have gone higher and above the application of the protocols and the statutes and the sanctions, therefore, that needed to come along with it. And to ask very serious questions about what do we do in the face of the existential threat I have described. And it is for a simple reason, because the democracy and good governance that we all want and we are all fighting for every day would immediately be deleted or annihilated once we are all overwhelmed by terrorism and terrorist activities. So what we needed to do was to deal with this head on, keeping in mind that if you look at Burkina Faso, President Traoré has repeated and repeated, it is not as if they are in a democracy. The decision to go through a revolution to fight terrorism is a decision that suspended democracy. And here we were emphasizing on the democracy we want, when as a matter of fact, the lives of the ordinary men and women and children of Burkina Faso, for that matter, Niger and Mali, is under threat. So we were arguing to promote democracy in an environment in which democracy could not have been promoted. So that my argument is secure first the safety and the existence of these countries, and then now go to now talk about how do we consolidate a governance system that in itself is resilient and capable of fighting off terrorism.
Is that something that you think we can do in this short period of time? Because we've already seen Burkina Faso facing insurgency. They've taken over 8 regions already. Is this something that they can even, if you look at the strength of terrorist military that is protecting his governance for now, obviously, if you monitor social media, you can tell that globally he's winning some support and maybe some moral strength from people. But has he the strength to contain the situation that Ghana may not have the spillover of all these?
Yes, and so the effect of a spillover does not necessarily have to happen when our territorial space is violated by terrorist organizations. The psychological effect is already there, and you can then add on to that the climate that is consequent to the good neighborliness, the trade and commerce that we want. And so for me, by leaving Burkina Faso alone to its fate, so to speak, they are looking at all options available to them, and they continue to be overwhelmed. And so Burkina Faso is looking for a partnership that will support them to fight terrorism. And its neighbors, who should be the first in line to support them for various reasons that are more political than strategy in terms of security, are looking on. And that for me is a dilemma in the sense that we need to prioritize what do we need to deal with first. What we need to deal with first is to secure the sovereignty and the territorial space of our neighbors.
How do we do that?
So my argument, right from going back more than 2 years, was for the activation of the ECOWAS standby force, the requisite training that was required, in which all of us would have contributed troops to demonstrate solidarity and support to Burkina Faso to fight terrorism. But of course, if you now ask me whether realistically we can do this now, I think the window has closed as we speak today for that to happen and to happen in a very short term. But my argument is this is the thinking we should have had more than 2 years ago, for the simple reason that if we did not do that, the effects are the conversations I'm having now with you. Because we constantly waited and delayed, this is the conversation now we are having. The question is tomorrow, what will be the type of conversation? And so it might never be too late to come together to demonstrate that solidarity. Now, where am I getting the source to justify this? If you remember, when the Accra Initiative was formed, interestingly, with Ghana being the host, the secretariat of the Accra Initiative, we're going to levy to West African country, off my head, the amount was $100 million. That would have been contributed by each of our member states coming out of our own capacities and resources. That would have then gone in to build the requisite resilience, support, and solidarity that I'm talking about. We could have then leveraged that with other support mechanisms from the African Union and from our own African multilateral institutions. That might have also attracted the type of bilateral support to friends across the world who mean and sincerely support the stability of West African states. But now, psychologically, terrorists would have understood very clearly that they are not fighting only Burkina, but they are fighting the whole of West Africa.
Right.
Diplomatically, and if I were to end here, in the same way, we should have leveraged the North African countries to be in solidarity with us who are in the West Africa zone, and would have hemmed these terrorists. We would have sandwiched them in between and would have been able to deal with them more effectively. But as I speak with you, Mali is not in good relationships with Algeria. Diplomatic relations have gone very low. Airspaces are being closed. The diplomatic space to even engage no longer exists. And yet every day the threat continues to increase. And so this is the time for leadership to take a pause and rethink what is the urgent and very important priority and how do we respond to that priority.
Well, you're saying that the window is closed, but we can still do something as soon as possible because it doesn't look good. It looks like we're focusing only on our countries, but the borders are not looking so good. And so we need to act as soon as possible. If you have some words to add before I let you go, Mr. Bombande.
Yes, so to me, you have summarized it beautifully. We need to take that psychological barrier off our heads that makes us to feel that it is the Sahelian countries who should deal with terrorism and see ourselves as part of them, so that all the bilateral support that we get should not be for us alone. It should rather be for us to strengthen our resolve and our human capacities, military speaking, to go to the aid and support of Burkina Faso, and for that matter, Niger and Mali. Then in the next few years, we would appreciate the benefit of that, because everything else can no longer be sustainable if the security of these countries is not uppermost on our development agenda as a region.
Mr. Bombande, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Thank you for speaking to us. And he is, West African Network for Peace Building. WANEP was working with Emmanuel Bombande. He's an expert in mediation and peace building. He's worked in some African countries as well in terms of peace building and all that, and also has been a deputy foreign minister here in Ghana before. Emmanuel Bombande. Well, this word time will allow us here on Good Afternoon Ghana. We'll draw the curtains. We're back tomorrow with some more analysis. Akwesi will take over as he comes to give us the business breakdown of the nation. Thanks for watching.
The Ghana Celebrity Impact Awards, GCIA, is an annual award ceremony that recognizes and celebrates the outstanding contribution and impacts of Ghanaian individuals, corporate entities, and celebrities. It celebrates Ghanaian philanthropy, promotes social responsibility, empower youth and community development, and celebrate achievements in giving back to society, thereby fostering national pride and unity. Here are the nominees for the Most Impactful Ghanaian Award 2024. Ibrahim Mahama, Engineers and Planners. Patricia Poku Diaby, Plot Enterprise. Dr. Gifty Akushika Lamte, Sedalco Group. Dr. Osei Kwame Despite Group. Samuel Amotobin, Tobinco Group. Kevin Autry, Springfield Group. To vote for the Most Impactful Ghanaian 2024, go to www.GhanaCelebrityImpactAwards.com. For enquiries and table reservations, call 053-755-0058 or 053-753-5390. The Ghana Celebrity Impact Awards is brought to you by Visa King, GCIA, celebrating the spirit of giving back.
Current affairs, history, English, sports, and more. Introducing the Metro King Show.
Ghana took its name from the Ghana Empire, an ancient empire that inhabited nearly land centuries ago. What does the word Ghana mean?
Old Ghana.
That's wrong. Samuel, what's your answer?
Beland.
That's also wrong. In which region of Ghana is Huni Valley located?
Western region.
More momo for your pockets. Come on. What does Accra mean?
Accra means ant.
Ant. Correct answer.
Over to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Metro King Show.
Excuse me, sir.
Hello.
Please, next time, can you put it in a dustbin?
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, I'll not do that again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Girl, how are you? I've really missed you.
I've
Look
missed
at how
you
she's
too.
looking so fabulous. I know, right?
Thank you. Auntie Naya.
Yes, dear.
Uncle Kofi.
Yes, dear.
All you've been teaching me about sanitation, I've been teaching my friends at school, and it has been absolutely great.
Really? Wow. That's a great impact you're making now.
Sure.
Keep it up, girl.
Okay.
Sure.
Auntie Naya.
Yes, dear.
I need to tell you something.
Go ahead.
If we want to be successful as a people, we need to be aware of the importance of sanitation.
That's true.
That's true. You're right, Amma. You're right. That's true.
Naya, do you know sanitation is so important and crucial in our society?
Yes, Kofi, and I thank God for K Sanitation IQ, which you can also just say KSIQ. It is an important show that you don't need to miss it.
Kids Sanitation IQ. That's a great show. I understand the show has been designed for the kids to educate the public on some special sanitation categories.
I know, right? And I learned they will also educate the public on sanitation for environmental and community development.
I also understand they would educate the public on sanitation for educational development.
Wow.
Yeah.
Education, you say?
Oh, God.
Wow.
Right.
It is amazing. They also have sanitation for health development.
Oh, health
and
development.
Sanitation for corporate.
Corporate and health, Nana.
Don't play.
This one will intrigue you. I understand this kit will educate the public on sanitation that benefits the needy.
The
Isn't
needy,
it
you
amazing?
say?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Isn't it amazing?
It is amazing.
Oh, God.
Don't miss this
You
show.
don't have to miss the Kids Sanitation IQ show.
To participate in this contest, please call 0209 300 300, 0209 300 300 for an audition. Don't miss the KSIQ show. Be there.
We brought you the hottest trending music videos, insightful interviews with your favorite celebrities, and some dance moves.
We also got your favorite celebrity talking about their deep, goofy, and interesting sides you and I can see on cameras and social media.
But hold up, this season we are bringing you a whole new different vibe. Spanking new videos, top 5 countdown, and the all-new segment dubbed MVC Experience, where we bring you close to music, fun, and more interesting vibes.
Join the vibe this and every Saturday on Metro Television.
Don't forget to follow us on our social media handles, MVC Official TV.
Hello.
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 A look, a word,
Hello.
a first impression. And straight away we know, I can trust her, but not him. She's lying. And so is he. But he seems reliable.
Hello.
The level of trustworthiness that you perceive in another person's face, even when they're complete strangers, can predict criminal sentencing decisions, including up to capital punishment, can predict hiring decisions.
A brief glance at someone's face or the sound of their voice can affect our decisions.
Gathering information from facial and vocal cues has been fundamental to social interactions. Language has only been around for tens of thousands of years, which in evolutionary terms is no more than a blink of the eye.
First impressions can be alluring, but often deceptive.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Our face and voice reveal a lot about us. Our mood, our disposition, our health. They point to what's going on inside us, and the cues they give can even be interpreted by artificial intelligence.
Science fiction has been predicting this development for ages, but it's still hard to fathom, and it leaves us feeling skeptical and uneasy because we're not used to it.
We encounter strangers every day. A new face, an unfamiliar voice, both unique and distinct. They express our individuality, but they also help us decide whether we like the person and whether we accept or reject their advances. Decisions we make instantly.
With just 100 milliseconds of exposure, people already make up their mind about trustworthiness and competence and dominance. But that making up their mind takes, several hundreds of milliseconds. But you only need a very quick glance. There's certain facial features, even in a static photograph, that convey levels of intelligence, and that can lead to judgments and biased decisions.
John Freeman is looking at what happens in our brain after a short glance at someone's face. His theory, many of these instantaneous decisions are based on learned stereotypes. The same applies to voices. Pascal Boulard continues to find evidence that we associate certain emotions and traits with how someone's voice sounds.
We see voices as a type of auditory face. We need just one word to form an opinion. A voice like this is seen as inspiring and confident by most people, whereas this one leaves the listener thinking they wouldn't trust him with their money.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
What does science say? Do we all see the same thing when we look at someone's face? John Freeman uses a special morphing program to get a more accurate answer. He can alter gender, age, mood, and character traits subtly.
If you ask hundreds of different subjects to judge the trustworthiness of these individual faces, you'll find that they generally agree in terms of being highly correlated with one another. So the same faces appear trustworthy or relatively untrustworthy across the board generally.
Although we're all different, the result is surprisingly similar for everyone, at least if we're asked if someone is trustworthy. The first impression is when we decide who we want to communicate, cooperate, or form a close relationship with.
Is it surprising that people have these kinds of unconscious tendencies despite humans being such rational creatures? I would say not really, right? When we think evolutionarily about, in terms of our evolutionary past, before we had verbal language, right, as non-human primates, nonverbal communication and using facial appearance, using cues of the face, voice, and body were really critical, right, for survival, for the maintenance of resources, for building social groups.
It can be attributed to our evolution. Making instant decisions about who is friend or foe greatly increased our chances of survival. As pack animals, we've always formed communities. Long before language played a role, humans developed a keen sense of how those around them felt. And being able to read the room is a huge advantage. If someone in the group is scared, your own life may also be in danger too. If someone is seething with rage, you placate them or run. Our brains are still wired the same way today. As soon as we encounter someone new, we immediately attempt to establish whether they are with us or against us.
But to what extent do these first impressions actually alter our behavior? The evidence shows that they have a strong impact.
They predict all sorts of downstream social outcomes and real-world consequences. And so, when the findings like faces that appear more competent are more likely to be elected to senator and governor positions in the United States, and even presidential candidates are more likely to win in the United States.
Competent-looking managers and attractive people are paid more, and defendants who look untrustworthy are given longer sentences. But what about our voices? We can hear fine nuances of confidence, dominance, and competence too, even if they have little in common with the speaker's actual personality. Beyond words, a voice also transports emotions and can even bring things to life. Puppets become real figures we relate to like other human beings.
It illustrates how we instinctively relate to a human personality if it has a voice.
On a puppet, for example, and because of changing body cues and changing vocal cues, that the perception of the emotion, the perception of that person's or the puppet's intentions are changed.
Oh, yes.
Look me in the eyes.
Just a little bit. Generosity.
Sympathetic.
Ambivalent.
Our brains create real people from the voices they hear, even when the people aren't real.
Once you give a machine a voice, it gets a personality as if it were human. It's an automatic reflex. And research shows that people's feelings change if their computer, car, or coffee machine has a voice. The vocal acoustics we give machines could even determine how we interact with them.
Furhat, wake up. Wake up.
How can I help you?
What can you do?
You can, for example, ask me to introduce myself or to chat a little.
Can you introduce yourself?
I'm a Furhat robot, a social robot built to interact with people in the same way you interact with each other. So I can smile and nod.
Gabriel Scancer is one of Furhat's creators. A first prototype of the robot was launched in 2011.
I looked a bit more crude back then with cables sticking out from my head. They came up with the idea to cover the cables with a fur hat. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the name fur hat comes from. I don't really need my fur hat anymore. I look pretty as I am, don't you think?
I don't know what the original interest comes from, really. I just think it's a very fascinating idea of creating an agent that interacts like a human and behaves like a human. It's fascinating by its own right, but it's also, again, back to the idea that if we can do that, we start to get a better understanding of how we as humans work.
In the future, Gabriel Scancer wants Furhat to behave like a human during a conversation. But as soon as scientists try to transfer our human behaviors to machines, it quickly becomes apparent how complex our behaviors are.
But I'm originally from the United States.
Do you like being on?
Today, Furhat is supposed to make small talk. The robot searches the web on its own for responses.
What do you mean by that?
You are quite stupid.
That's a pretty rude thing to say, Furhat.
So I have no idea what the robot will say next. So it's a surprise for me what it says, and it's a bit fascinating to see how the conversation unfolds.
Although the conversation takes some unexpected turns, Furhat has already mastered the basics: when to speak, where their conversation partner is looking, and how much eye contact is appropriate. The scientists have programmed Furhat with a whole range of emotional facial cues. However, the finer differences we express using mimic and our voices are proving trickier.
So as humans, for example, we have these micro expressions. So my eyes move a little bit all the time. I make small movements with my face. And we want the robot to have those small movements also. Otherwise, it looks very robotic and not very human-like. So we think that the face is extremely important, and the way we give feedback to each other and everything is expressed through the face, but also through the voice and the way, the tone of our voice and so on.
That's why it's so difficult for Furhat to react appropriately. The same word or the same sentence can come across very differently depending on the mood, the occasion, or the person we're talking to. Unfortunately, there's no user manual for humans that Furhat can learn from. Not yet, anyway.
There's plenty of cases where, you know, a face can be identical and the same features, but the context, the body, and the voice dramatically changes how we understand that person. There's all sorts of different kinds of cues in terms of intonation, pitch contour, formant characteristics that change how we perceive other people's voices, the emotions that they're feeling, their intentions.
How do we read moods? Mark Schwertz is researching how tiny movements in our facial muscles can influence our communication. The eyebrows, cheeks, lips and chin all contribute to forming very different types of smiles.
It's very subtle because it has to do with micro expressions that you see around the eye region or the mouth region. Or you can fake a smile, like if I do this in a very fake manner, you can see that the person is pretending to be happy or being cynical or sarcastic, but it's not revealing what his or her true sentiments or emotions are. And it's not only smiling, it's also in the very subtle movements of eyebrows, the very subtle movements of blinking.
A recent US TV show focused on body language. Dr. Lightman was the protagonist of the crime show Lie to Me. He was an expert in micro-expressions who believed facial expressions could expose lies and suppressed emotions.
Huge scorn, shame and shame, contempt. These expressions are universal.
Can we really identify every single emotion just by practicing? Some scientists think so. Apparently, all we need to do is consciously notice each millisecond-long facial expression. The results are used in market research to find out which commercials are most effective. Specially trained security teams at airports also analyse facial cues to spot potential terrorists. But is it really that easy to tell when criminals are lying? Hollywood wants us to think so.
43 muscles combine to produce a possibility of 10,000 expressions. Now, if you learn them all, you don't need a polygraph.
How much did we spend on this damn project?
But the scientific world takes a slightly dimmer view.
In real life, it's often much harder to do. So for instance, there are these claims that from your micro-expressions you can see whether someone is lying or not, but that's close to impossible. So for most times that people lie about something, you're close to chance level about guessing whether or not someone is speaking the truth or not. Ironically speaking, if your lie becomes more important, like if I'm lying about something which really matters, like I have to hide something, it's called the pink elephant effect, your cues to lying become clearer for the other person. So the more you try your best not to show that you're lying, the more likely it is that people will see that you're lying.
How easy is it to tell when someone is lying? Mark Schwertz is looking to children aged 5 and over for the answer.
Yeah?
The children are asked to tell the prince in a computer game the truth, but lie to the dragon.
Ik vraag het nogmaals. Waar is de prins? In de toren.
They're supposed to help the prince hide from the dragon. Cameras and microphones record the children's behaviour in an attempt to find any differences.
Daar ben ik weer. Ik hoorde de draak.
After recording numerous children, the results highlight signs that point to lying.
Waar zit de draak?
In het toren.
Mooi. Dan doe ik de deur op slot.
When you look at the face, when they're being truthful, they have a very open and spontaneous kind of expression. When they're lying and they have the impression that they're being watched and being observed, you see that they have this sense of, oh, I'm being observed. And you can tell also from facial expressions around the mouth area, which is more marked kind of expression than in say, the truthful condition. It's something about the voice. So when they're being truthful, they have a very soft, normal, warm voice. When they're lying, they tend to be a little bit more using creaky voice, like talking a little bit like this.
But not every child showed the same cues, so it's not a reliable way to tell if they are telling the truth or not.
Wat? Dat meen je niet. Waar zit de draak?
In de toren.
Generally, we're much better at controlling our facial cues than our vocal cues. Every sound we produce is created by over 100 muscles all working closely together. Emotions alter muscular tension, which impacts the tone of our voices. Everything is controlled by different parts of the brain. The muscles in the chest and abdomen that create the required air pressure. Muscles in the tongue, lips and face that vary the voice and, of course, the larynx and vocal cords. The higher the pitch, when we become excited, for example, the faster they vibrate. But does everyone hear the same thing when a stranger talks to us? Do we all come to the same conclusion in deciding if someone is trustworthy, extroverted, or willing to try new things? Björn Schuler is conducting research using a range of different voices. Although the group doesn't agree on everything, the data shows some clear tendencies. Artificial intelligence is being used to help identify them.
My theory is that if a human can hear something, a computer can pick up on it too. But it becomes a little spooky when we go beyond what a human can spot. We're now trying to assess whether the speaker has COVID-19 or not. Plus for yes and minus for no.
Oder nicht minus Covid-19.
Streckt sich Nordwind und Sonne.
Gut.
We've got one vote for positive.
It was negative.
Here's the next voice.
Einst stritten sich Nordwind und Sonne.
We now have 3 positives and 1 negative. I'm going to say positive. Maurice?
Yes, that's right.
Diagnosing COVID by simply listening to someone's voice sounds risky, at least when we rely on the human ear. At the start of the pandemic, Björn Schuler programmed a range of voices into artificial intelligence. Is a more accurate diagnosis now possible?
This is the asymptomatic negative case.
Negativ. And
this is the symptomatic positive case.
Und was man jetzt hier zum Beispiel rechts sehr schön sieht, sind diese Obertöne. Die sind hier sehr ausgeprägt klar.
What we can see quite clearly on the right here are the upper tones.
Stark verwaschene. Das heißt, das ist eben dieses Rahl.
There are lots more signals we can use too, like the uncontrolled vibration of the vocal cords that leads to irregularities in the stimuli, a certain throatiness, breathlessness that causes longer speech breaks.
Die zu Unregelmäßigkeiten in der Anregung, in der gleichmäßigen Anregung führen, diese Rauigkeit, kurzer Luft haben, deswegen längeres Sprach-Pausenverhältnis zugunsten der Pausen.
All these things give the computer enough examples to reach a decision and differentiate between asthma or a cold.
Eine Entscheidung treffen kann, die sich auch zu Asthma, Erkältung abgrenzen lässt.
At least 85% of the diagnoses made by artificial intelligence were correct. What's more, computers can also identify ADHD, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's and depression by analysing voices. Anything that goes wrong in the body or brain impacts our voices. To make a diagnosis, artificial intelligence looks at up to 6,000 different vocal cues. The new technology could allow diagnoses to be made more easily and earlier. Every word we say reveals more about us than we realise. And as listeners, we are influenced by the person speaking to us. Subconsciously, we relate to the person speaking. We internalise their anxiety, uncertainty, excitement or happiness as if it were our own. It's a type of synchronization that connects two people through mimicry.
But in general, mimicry is something that we do observe a lot in normal kind of conversations, and it's reflected in various aspects of our communication, from the words we use, the syntax we use, the prosody we produce, so the intonation and the tempo, but also the non-verbal communication, for instance, smiling behavior.
The closer the relationship or desire for a relationship, the more intense our subconscious mimicry becomes. We also mimic more strongly when we want to be liked. A smile is the clearest signal.
The smiling person often triggers something of happiness in yourself. Like if you see a smiling person, you sometimes start to smile yourself. And so I don't know, maybe one of the attractive features of the Mona Lisa has exactly to do with that. Like there's something intriguing, something attractive about looking at the painting, because she elicits smiles, she elicits happiness.
We allow ourselves to be influenced by someone else's mood. Mark Schwertz wanted to take a closer look. In this experiment, the speaker is describing something to her audience. Her manner is animated and she smiles frequently. Her audience reacts similarly. They smile back, nod in agreement, and give positive feedback. But what happens when the same speaker repeats the process, but more seriously? Her listeners also look more earnest. They appear to concentrate more, and their reactions are more constrained. Synchronization signals empathy and interest in the other person. If our communication is successful, we tune into them more closely. And it's not just our facial cues that sync, it's our voices too. Trying to express an emotion vocally that we're not feeling is nearly impossible. So what transforms a voice into an instrument that can appeal to, persuade or motivate other people? Oliver Niebuhr has carried out numerous case studies and all have the same outcome. It's not what we say that counts, it's how we say it.
The voice is an extremely complex, multi-layered signal. We all have information that we want to impart, but absorbing it is hard work from a cognitive point of view. So we need to work on how we present it. Emphasizing words can send a clear signal indicating which parts of the conversation are important. We need to consider short pauses too. In fact, people who communicate like this are regarded as more likable.
Dann ist man wesentlich eher gemocht auch, tatsächlich.
So it's all about how we use our voices to package the content. The phonetician is performing a short test. How well can his co-worker present a text he's reading from for the first time? Artificial intelligence is again used for analysis. The computer calculates a score of 47.7. It splits the voice into 16 parameters, including speed, rhythm, melody, volume, and pauses. A score between 1 and 100 for acoustic appeal is then calculated. Our ears prefer a varied pitch, usually around 2 octaves. Charismatic speakers often switch between loud and quiet, fast and slow. It makes the voice sound more melodic.
And input their start and stop times at the push of a button. But what about employees?
For centuries, this principle has been used by populists and demagogues to capture the attention of audiences. Because even ancient civilizations understood that the only way to motivate and inspire people was to get them to listen.
Public speaking, projecting and modulating your voice to achieve the best result was taught in classic antiquity. Now it's become a lost skill.
It's possible to train your voice to transport information effectively. It's no different to learning a new vocabulary or grammar.
Oliver Niebuhr has developed a computer training program.
After 5 seconds, so know that you have a pitch range.
The principle is fairly basic. The upper and lower lines show the pitch. Circles in different colors and size represent speed, volume, and pauses.
Traveling to different, what I really like to do is to try different food from different countries, and I really like spicy food also.
Users are shown what they can improve in real time.
Well, in the golden time, in the extra
After one day of training, the speaker tries again.
Good chances to win. And paycheck errors by 90%, saving both
and scores 12 points higher than the previous day.
How does your company handle
the main improvements are in pitch variation.
Clients?
His score has soared from 34.5 to 73.3. That's almost double his previous attempt.
This app has not only
It's a clear improvement.
time card process for remote employees.
Other voices are so seductive that we can lose ourselves in them, as shown in this experiment. Some drivers were given instructions by this voice.
Folgen Sie dem Straßenverlauf für 300 Meter.
And others by this slightly less engaging voice.
Folgen Sie nun der Straße für weitere 1500 Meter.
Was sie aber nicht wussten, ist, dass auf der Hälfte
What the drivers didn't know was that halfway through the experiment, the sat-nav started giving incorrect directions. And it got progressively worse and worse. We wanted to see at what point the drivers would quit. We were able to show that the more expressive, the more convincing voice kept drivers following the wrong route for longer, despite it going against their better judgment. We had to call them, explain it was just a test and ask them to come back.
Diesen falschen Anweisungen gefolgt sind, wo nachher wir anrufen mussten und sagen, sorry, kommen Sie zurück, das war nur ein Test.
An engaging voice plays a key role when it comes to flirting or meeting a romantic partner.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Willy.
Willy.
Hello, Willy. I'm Cordula.
I'm looking for a woman for the long term.
Who's attractive? Who do we desire? We make snap judgments when it comes to one of life's most important decisions, quickly and irrationally.
Snap judgments have always thought they're really fascinating. It's sort of how we determine who we want to date, who we want to be friends with, who we don't want to be friends with. And we don't have a lot of introspective access to those feelings. What drives that? We usually encounter people and we like them or we don't like them. And we have a good sense of that. We get along with them. And these things determine all of our behavior.
Are we all born with a universal code? Is it nature or nurture that allows us to interpret character traits and read emotions through facial and vocal cues? One thing is certain. We react to these cues from a very young age. Just like our animal ancestors. Obviously, primates never developed verbal language like humans. But just like us, they communicate vocally, and they know how to interpret the signals.
Jusqu'ici, la plupart des chercheurs pensent que c'est très différent.
Scientists have always assumed that there are huge differences between verbal humans and non-verbal primates. But research shows that the auditory cortex in both species is more similar than expected. Whether verbal or non-verbal, it makes no difference on how the brain processes signals.
L'organisation du traitement de la voix. Mais nous, on peut faire une angulation le long de
Pascal Ballon has tested humans and primates using functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI. The results show that both groups react to their own species' voice in the same parts of the brain. Our ancestors also probably used these areas 20 million years ago. Primates process vocal cues the same way we do, even without language.
The brain's architecture has changed slightly in humans to process language. But the mechanisms have stayed the same in other species for anything beyond language: identity, emotions, personality.
Research into how primates interpret facial cues shows similar results. Again, similar brain structures to humans are activated in the primates. Does that mean that we are born with the ability to understand facial and vocal cues? Joris is 10 months old and is getting ready for an experiment. Sarah Jessen wants to measure Joris's brainwaves to see how he reacts to unfamiliar faces. Can he already judge who's trustworthy and untrustworthy?
We carried out research where we showed babies a range of faces for 50 milliseconds. That's only a 20th of a second. It's so quick, we assumed that babies wouldn't even register the faces. However, we identified activity in the brain that proved the babies had not only registered the faces, but had even made a decision about whether they were trustworthy or not.
But is it innate or learned?
We don't believe that a baby is born with the ability to judge whether a face is trustworthy or not. It's more likely to be a combination of learning processes and an inherent or early interest in faces.
Over the first few months, faces and voices are a baby's most important learning resources. Parents intuitively use pronounced facial cues, emphasize certain words, and exaggerate. This captures the baby's attention and allows them to recognize emotions more easily. By 6 months, babies can already differentiate between happiness, fear, sadness, and anger.
You want to play, I see. I'm still a bit sleepy.
Just like a child, Furhat is learning to understand us better and practicing how to behave in a conversation. He analyzes the movements and eyes of his conversation partner using a camera.
My name is Gabriel. Furhat has to know whether I am talking to Furhat or my colleague here. So that's quite tricky, and we call that a multi-party interaction where there are more than 2 people talking. And one of the ways of handling this is that we track the head pose of the users. So here we can see that the camera has detected us 2 here, and it can also recognize our faces. So if I turn around and look back, it will see that I'm the same person still.
It's time to play a game with Furhat.
Gabriel.
The team takes turns drawing a shape, while the other players guess what it is.
Could it be star?
No.
Is it a flower?
Yeah, it's a flower.
Got it. So let's go.
My guess is feather.
No. Just make it more.
Is it a worm?
I know. It is snake.
It is, yes. Go for it.
This is a good one.
A boat.
Keep guessing.
Is it a boat? Isn't it a boat?
Furhat will look and sound more like a human over time, but he won't be identical. Studies show we prefer a clear distinction between humans and robots, or we find it too creepy. The boundaries are already blurred in the media. After 40 years, ABBA is back on stage. Not in real life, of course, but as avatars. It's like time has simply passed the group of 70-year-olds by. Only their voices are still real.
We're at the start of a huge technological shift.
Transition technologique.
We are often asked to record actors' voices.
D'enregistrer des acteurs humains.
I predict that over the next few years, these real-life voice recordings will become superfluous. Because we'll be able to create new synthetic voices using scientific principles.
Modulable et basé sur des principes scientifiques.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me. And I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Artificial intelligence making independent decisions was still a pipe dream in director Stanley Kubrick's day. But today, we live with it. And maybe that's a good thing, because AI doesn't make emotional decisions or succumb to alluring voices. It's neutral and impartial, and everything we're not, right?
If you program an AI, if they see that You know, African American is linked with hostility and crime in media depictions in TV, and those are inputs into the AI. The AI is going to pick up on that and act accordingly.
You'll be shown a series of images.
So AI is more like us than we realise. In Lie to Me, we're shown how some faces are automatically linked to stereotypes.
What are you guys up to? We're testing for racial bias. Fuck the racist.
Oh, they're all racist. Yeah, 80% of people who take this test are biased. We're just looking for the guy who takes the
And science dictates that subconscious bias directly impacts our perceptions.
Association time for each of them.
They leave a lot of collateral damage in the brain, right? It's not just a stereotype living in sort of a filing cabinet in the brain, right? They're changing approach and avoidance tendencies, behavioral tendencies, motor tendencies, visual tendencies, auditory tendencies.
John Freeman is looking at exactly what happens using fMRI. The test group is shown several different faces. As well as the part of the brain responsible for facial recognition, other areas that process social and emotional information are also activated. These areas memorize bias and personality traits. To provide a rapid response, our brains make fast predictions. We register what we perceive to be most probable.
This can often be adaptive, right? If you walk into a restaurant, you expect to see chairs and tables and a waiter, etc. You're not going to waste a lot of metabolic resources, the brain's time, the visual system's resources, and processing every single object in that space. You generate a bunch of hypotheses, you know what a restaurant is, and you kind of run with those hypotheses, and you use expectations to fill in the gaps that the brain is too lazy to figure out itself and doesn't want to waste its resources on.
So are we merely at the mercy of these mechanisms? John Freeman refuses to accept this theory. He's carrying out research to find out how we learn these stereotypes and whether we can unlearn them. He shows the test group a range of faces linked to specific character traits.
So given all that, we wanted to explore our capacity to rapidly acquire completely novel facial stereotypes out of thin air. People that have a wide cilium width, which is the nose bridge on the face, and it's a cue that really has nothing to do with anything interesting. It's just simply how wide the bridge of the nose is. So it's an arbitrary facial feature, and 80% of the time we're pairing this wide cilium with trustworthy behaviors. So now they see completely new faces, not the ones that they had previously learned about, and that have wide and narrow ciliums, that arbitrary facial feature. And indeed what we found was that on a variety of different measures, more conscious, less conscious, that people are applying these stereotypes, they are automatically activating these stereotypes, without their conscious awareness, from just a couple minutes of learning.
Our brains are highly flexible when it comes to stereotyping. We can learn to evaluate faces differently, at least over the short term. John is now looking into a training method that works long term. The same principle applies to voices.
Ultimately, the more we know about these mechanisms, the less susceptible we are to being deceived by first impressions.
First impressions. Fascinating, sometimes deceptive, but always a special, even magical moment. And maybe the start of a new relationship where we discover so much more than what we saw at first sight.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Clean your compound every morning. It's cheaper than treating malaria. Don't wait for government. Lead the change.
The Ghana Celebrity Impact Awards, GCIA, is an annual awards ceremony that recognizes and celebrates the outstanding contribution and impacts of Ghanaian individuals, corporate entities, and celebrities. It celebrates Ghanaian philanthropy, promotes social responsibility, empower youth and community development, and celebrate achievements in giving back to society, thereby fostering national pride and unity. Here are the nominees for the Most Impactful Ghanaian Award 2024. Ibrahim Mahama, Engineers and Planners. Patricia Poku Diaby, Plot Enterprise. Dr. Gifty Akushika Lamte, Sedalco Group. Dr. Osei Kwame Despite Group. Samuel Amotobin, Tobinco Group. Kevin Autry, Springfield Group. To vote for the Most Impactful Ghanaian 2024, go to www.GhanaCelebrityImpactAwards.com. For enquiries and table reservations, call 053-755-0058 or 053-753-5390. The Ghana Celebrity Impact Awards is brought to you by Visa King, GCIA, celebrating the spirit of giving back.
We brought you the hottest trending music videos, insightful interviews with your favorite celebrities, and some dance moves.
We also got your favorite celebrity talking about their deep, goofy, and interesting sides you and I can see on cameras and social media.
But hold up, this season we are bringing you a whole new different vibe. Spanking new videos, top 5 countdown, and the all-new segment dubbed MVC Experience, where we bring you close to music, fun, and more interesting vibes.
Join the vibe this and every Saturday on Metro Television.
Don't forget to follow us on our social media handles, MVC Official TV. So we are on to the fun and games here on Young and Smart.
My favorite superhero is my father because he is disciplined, lovely, and hardworking, especially to children.
I like to travel to South Korea because my father was an importer from that country.
You can have some games to practice at home, in your school, or in your communities.
It's 5:30 a.m. The streets of Accra, Ghana, are already alive with motion. Clad in bright blue and orange uniforms, street sweepers move hurriedly, their brooms busy along the roadside. The steady swish of sweeping brushes echoes through the air, leaving behind gleaming roads, and a city awakening to a new dawn and standard of cleanliness. This is a toast to a movement which has now become a revolution nearly 2 decades on. A story of transformation, resilience, and an unwavering commitment. This is a story of Zoomlion Ghana Limited of the Jospon Group of Companies, a company at the heart of Ghana's sanitation revolution. It began in 2006 with one man and one manual tricycle.